This is Behind the Boss Lady podcast with your host, Shelby St.clair. I'm taking you behind the scenes of soul-led entrepreneurship as I hold space for paradigm-shifting conversations with awakened boss ladies. You're going to hear from women who share the good, the bad, and the ugly of what their journey to success looked like, leaving you with the advice and inspiration you need so that you never give the fuck up on your dreams. Your soul led you here for a reason. Join me every Wednesday as we dive deep into what it means to be an awakened boss lady in your life and business. Brianna, I'm so excited for you to be here. This is a conversation that I have been looking forward to for weeks because you have made such an impact in my life of just finding you and learning about your work and diving into certain things. And so I'm really excited for all the listeners and just everybody out there to be in your energy and your essence, to get to experience you and to learn more about you. So I would love for you to just share all about yourself.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for that beautiful introduction. I am really excited to be here. I was really looking forward to this. So thank you for having me on and allowing me to just share my light and talk about the work that I do and all the fun stuff in between. And so for those of you that don't know me, my name is Brianna Rose. I'm a Kundalini business coach, and I'm the CEO of the Light Leader Collective and creator of the Light Leader Movement and also the Light Leader Certification Program. So if you can't tell by all that, I love light work. And allowing people and showing people the way to really step into their power and accept their intuitive gifts. And so whenever I share them, a Kundalini business coach, most people kind of scratch their heads and they're like, what even is that? And so Kundalini business coaching is a form of coaching that I created. So if you've never heard of it before, it's all good. Just lean in and listen up. Essentially, it's a unique form of business coaching where we are addressing the energy of your business first by utilizing and activating your Kundalini energy and then layering on the strategy. Essentially, I'm on a mission to teach women how to accept their intuitive gifts, build their own intuitive online empires. So that way they can truly raise the vibration of the planet and create their own light legacies. So that's a little bit about me. How far do you want me to take this, Shelby? Because there's so much that I could say about myself and Kundalini. So give me some guidance.
I just want to say that just like you saying that, it was already just like immediate chills and like it's just it's so inspiring to see somebody doing this type of work and helping people in this realm of business and doing it in a different way, right? Not the cookie cutter strategies and the things that you see out there that so many people try to copy and try to do, and it doesn't stick or it doesn't work. And then they look at themselves and say, something's wrong with me. I'm not meant for this. So I just love that you have honored your own path and your own purpose to guide you to this place of creating something that is so unique, that is truly helping women shift the way that they see themselves in who they are as a person, a whole being, and also just as a leader and a business owner. So I just want to say thank you for that, because it's truly beautiful.
Thank you. Well, I'm receiving.
And then I want to know what the heck led you here? Like, what led to you finding Kundalini and then to this point of realizing and recognizing that you could create and cultivate your own way of using it in this way?
Yes, would love to share that. So I'll back it on up a little bit. So basically, I was someone as a child, I always had intuitive gifts of like seeing and feeling energy. And at the time it was super scary. So I'd like pray every night for those intuitive gifts to stop. Cause I was like, this is a lot to handle this energy. And this is, back in the 90s where we didn't have Google, we didn't have sage in like every store possible, or, crystals weren't normal. We didn't know what to do. And so I'd pray for those intuitive gifts to kind of go away. And then when I hit, my like early mid 20s, I had a spiritual awakening. One of my close friends passed away. And so that kind of just like blew open my spiritual gifts. And at the time, I was a PR marketing director, born and raised in New York. So I just had that hustle culture down pat. And I just had shut off that whole like intuitive spiritual side of me. And so when my friend passed away, it was like blinders were off, like all the protection that I must have put around my gifts were just it removed, and it was like instantaneously they were back and tenfold. And so at that time I was like, what do I do? I'm in this very like hustle-y type of energy or world that I created for myself, and now there's this whole other aspect to me that's kind of trying to be birthed. And so at the time where I was working, I was a PR marketing director for a wellness facility, and we had acupuncturists on our team. And so I was like, I think they're like the closest kind of people that could talk to me about energy. So I remember like running into their treatment rooms. I'm like, this is what's going on. Can you help me? And they were like, that's not exactly what we do, but here are some people, here are some teachers you could speak to. And so that kind of led me down this path of Reiki, of IET. I became like a spiritual course junkie, just kind of like learning about all the things, mediumship, channeling. And at that time, I had discovered Gabby Bernstein, and she felt so relatable because she was spiritual, but she also had like this PR background. She was from New York. And I was like, okay, this person seems like someone that I can trust. And so I had purchased her book, May Cause Miracles. And in that book, she had taught like a Kundalini meditation. And I remember reading the book, and I was like, the word Kundalini was like sparkling, like off the page. And I was like, what is this thing? I had never heard of it before. I was raised Roman Catholic. So like Kundalini was not a word that was, part of our everyday use. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to look more into this. And it ended up being that where I lived, I'm from Long Island, the only Kundalini yoga studio on Long Island was literally next door to where I worked. And I was like, okay, I feel like this is synchronicity. I was still kind of like learning that lingo. I was like, but this is a sign, I think. I'm meant to go do this. And so I walked into the Kundalini class. And at that time, I was very much a New Yorker. So I walked in like black on black, like my full outfit, head to toe, all black. And everyone was dressed in all white with their turbans on and their sheepskins and everything. And I was like, what is this? What did I just walk into? And again, I had like this like very yogic ballet dance background. I was like, I'm going to kill this class. I'm going to be so fine. And the class whooped my ass. It was the hardest class I had ever experienced. If you've ever taken Kundalini yoga, you know what I mean. It's totally different than any other form of yoga. But I walked out of that class feeling so different. I had walked in feeling like just anxious and depressed. I felt like all of my intuitive gifts were turned on. So I was just like, I felt like electrocuted, like every day I was just picking up on so much energy. And so I had walked out of that class feeling like, not even like myself, my old self. I felt like a newer version of me that felt connected and aligned. Not that I even had those words at that time, but I was like, I feel good. And I'm going to keep doing this thing. And so every time I started to practice Kundalini, I would feel the sensation of this is what I'm supposed to do. But there would be like this like intuitive voice that would come through and say this, but also ask questions and learn more. And so for me, I've always been someone that asked a ton of questions. Like growing up, my cousins would make fun of me because I would ask why about everything. And so I would go into these yoga classes and I was like, well, why do we put our hands up like this? Why do we have to wear white? Why do we have to practice on sheepskin? Why are we holding our hands up for 11 minutes? Why can't we do it for 2 minutes? Right? It's like, I just wanted to know. I wasn't trying to be a pain in the ass, but I genuinely was like, what's happening in my body? Like, why am I feeling relief? And then also some postures that I was in would make me not feel good either. And so I would just ask questions and I would try different teachers out, and each one of them didn't have an answer. Or they would say, well, just listen to the guru. Like the guru knows, like just kind of be quiet and like keep practicing and it's all good. And that just didn't sit right for me. I was like, listen to a guru? What? Like, I want to know what I'm doing to my body, what's going on. And so again, I'd sit in my meditation practice and I would just hear, listen, follow this intuitive hit, and research. And so I spent literally like the last 10 to 12 years studying Kundalini and like what it is beyond the yoga meditation, what the history of it is, how it works in the body. And that kind of just led me down this really beautiful path of me being my own teacher on some level, because the teachers I was learning from were in books. They weren't like a life teacher. I mean, I did have teachers in real life, but for what the path that I was going down was so different than what was being taught in mainstream yoga classes or Kundalini yoga classes. And so my body kind of became my own little guinea pig, but I started to discover, what Kundalini was to me, or what the roots of Kundalini was. And I started to understand how the Kriyas are working. And so for anyone that doesn't know what a Kriya is, essentially, Kriyas are sequences of poses, postures, mantra, and breath work. They're kind of the yogic sequences that you practice. And so I started to just learn like why they're working, how they're working, why they might work for me and maybe not for you, Shelby, and like vice versa, and what's really happening in the body. Then that led me down this path of understanding the meridian system through the lens of Chinese medicine. And so it's almost like I took the meridian system and I overlaid it over the Kriyas, and I could see what energy channels are being stimulated and how that was affecting the body. And then I would take it even further, and I was like, okay, when we practice these Kriyas, like my body can't always get into those positions. So how do we modify them? How do we adapt them? Because in more of the classes that are taught here in the West, it's either you do it or you don't do it. Like there's no modifications, there's no adaptations. And as a woman, I was like, well, there's certain times like every month where I might not be able to get into a specific posture. What do I do then? Again, the teachers were like, well, just sit there and breathe. And I was like, well, I feel like I can do more with my body than just sit there and breathe. So I just got really curious. And what I ended up doing was creating my own lineage, my own form of Kundalini, known as light leader Kundalini. I see it as us bringing the feminine back to the practice. If you dive deep enough, you find that Kundalini it is feminine energy. And along the way, it's kind of just lost its way, like so many other practices and modalities that we have now in our Western world. And it's been taught very dogmatic and restrictive. And if that aligns for you, awesome. I'm not saying everyone has to do it my way. If that way aligns for you, great. But for those people that maybe want something that's a little bit more fluid in their bodies, that's gentle yet powerful, that's curated, that's customized, that's adaptable. I mean, we even have Kriyas now for prenatal and postpartum. Like we are really looking at the body and making sure that this work is accessible to everyone. And so I created this own like form of Kundalini. And then where the business comes in is because I found that most people have energy blocks. Shocker. We have blocks, we have beliefs. And a lot of times we don't succeed in our business because of those belief systems. And so what I do is I look at the Kriyas, I see what they're stimulating in the body, and then I correlate that to the business blocks people typically have, like being unable to write content, getting clear on their offerings, selling, receiving money, scaling, leadership, systems, all of that. There's literally a Kriya for each one of those things. And so we pair the energetic components with the aligned business strategy.
Incredible. What else do you possibly say besides incredible? Because it's so unique and so dynamic. I think that it speaks a lot for who you are and what led you to this work, because you were searching for the answers and nobody cared enough to figure it out. Which just makes sense for then why this business element came in, right? Because there's so many people out there who are trying to figure out why something isn't working. And then it leads, if they are passionate enough about finding the real reason, leading you or them to working with somebody like you that is doing this type of work, that's doing something different and actually going inward. There's just like with the work I do, right? There's so much that's within us from our past, from our lives that we've experienced. I didn't know the real element that drew you to this work was the loss of your friend. And as you said that, it's like, this resonates so much because my true opening and awakening was when my husband passed away. But for me, it almost led me into this state of fear to then actually blocking off my gifts for a while because I was terrified of being able to connect with him because I was so angry at him for leaving me. So it's like there's those two dualities, right? Like for you, it opened you up and led you to this path of creating. For me, it sent me inward, and I had to literally like rip myself opening in that spiritual awakening to allow myself to be, because I became resistant and fearful and all of the scary what ifs, like what if I connect, or what if it doesn't work, and all of these things. So I think that that is just really beautiful, just to see how like two of the same kind of experience of loss can lead you into different paths in different ways, right? And all for a purpose and a greater reason, because it led you exactly where you are, and it's led me exactly where I am. And now we get to be here talking about the work that you're doing today because of it. But I want to ask, because you just gave us so much information about what you do, and it is like so fascinating. But I want to even break it down more for somebody that's like, okay, like what is Kundalini? What does that actually mean?
Yes, I would love to talk about that, because if you Google Kundalini, there's like anything, there's just like a mishmash of like Google results, and I would say with Kundalini, most of the stuff you find is probably not going to be, like in air quotes, real. It's just a lot of just misinformation, which is unfortunate, but that's just the world we live in. And so Kundalini, to me at least, is actually not a form of yoga and meditation. The yoga and meditation that I just spoke of and that you see in classes are a means to awakening the Kundalini energy. Kundalini itself is energy that we all have. Every single person has this energy. It lives within us. Most people have heard of it as the energy that lives at the base of the spine, or the snake. We see it symbolized as the snake. It lives very close to the base of the spine. It's actually between your navel center and the base of your spine. And that's where this energy reserve lives. For most people, it lays dormant. So for any Harry Potter fans, I call those people muggles. For like the average, people on earth, it's like the energy just like is there and is untapped. But for those of us, and for people that are probably listening to this podcast, this energy wants to work with us. It wants to move with us. It's a natural energy that we're born with. It's divine feminine energy. If you don't relate to that terminology, think of it as just pure birthing, creating energy. It's the energy that like created everything that we see in the world. This is important for all of us, but especially as entrepreneurs, because we're always birthing and creating something, whether it's content or programs or new businesses. And so this energy lives near the base of the spine. It's coiled 3.5 times. So that's why it's often symbolized as the snake, because it's coiled. I don't resonate with the snake symbol. For me, I see it as a diamond, because the more pressure that you put on a diamond, the more it shines. And that's exactly what happens with the Kundalini energy. When we put pressure on the Kundalini energy, which is through the yoga and the movements, the energy can actually shine up through the central spinal column. And so it shoots up through the central spinal column. It's a light energy. It's a light frequency. Science has proved this, which is really cool. So it's not just something that's been passed down through traditions. It's an energy that shines up through our central spinal column. I think of it as like a snow globe, and you shake it up and all those like particles are moving around. That's kind of what happens with this Kundalini energy. It's rising up, and then it ascends up through our central spinal column, and it descends down through our vagus nerve. And our vagus nerve is the largest nerve in the body. So we literally have this full body activation. When you Google Kundalini, oftentimes there is a lot of misinformation, but there's also a lot of information where people say that they went into a state of psychosis, or all these like negative things happened. I can say I've been practicing this for over a decade. I've never experienced that. I've experienced deep healing, but I think when you practice it with intention, you practice it gently with your body, you're within the bounds of your own body, and it's safe. I also think whatever comes up is coming up to heal, and nothing will come up that you cannot heal or process in that moment. And so as that light is shining, why I share this is because as that light is shining, right, when you shine a light on the darkness, it illuminates the darkness. And so we all have darkness. We're human beings. We're yin and yang, we're shadow and light. And so it illuminates the darkness, the limiting beliefs, the traumas, whether it's big T trauma, little t trauma, and it offers us this opportunity to heal that. Essentially, when we awaken that Kundalini energy, in order to transform or rebirth or create, we're having that up level, that up level that we all talk about in business and life. And in order to rise into that up level, we have to let go of some of the baggage. And so the Kundalini energy is kind of showing you, like, here's that thing you need to heal in order to get to that next level. Here's that other thing that you need to heal in order to get to that next level. And it will keep coming up until you heal it, because it wants you to kind of cleanse it out, clear it, so that way the energy can rise up and you can rise up as well.
Yeah. And I can attest to that as somebody so I found you it was 2018, and I was stumbling across some things, trying to just, figure out how I was going to step into this world of coaching. And it was you and a couple other coaches that I stumbled upon that really solidified the belief for me that you could bring the healing and the spiritual work into the business world and make it work. And I remember doing one of the first things I did with you was a 40-day Kundalini challenge. And it challenged me because it's still not easy. Having your arms in a certain position for minutes at a time and breathing and chanting, it's not easy, but it is so powerful. And the shifts that came and the clarity that came was just tenfold from anything that you could just sit in a normal course and gain, because you were doing this inner work on a different level.
Totally.
And then this next wave of it comes right as I'm going through this process, and I'm transitioning things after my loss and just trying to connect. And I saw myself go into this survival mode, and me and you had conversations of I want to join your program, but I'm just not there. I can't do it right now. And then you came out with this course in Kundalini.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got that. And that was that moment, right? As you're saying, you're doing these Kriyas and they're opening you up and they're highlighting and really shining that light on the things that need to be healed and the things that need to be let go of. That's exactly what that did for me. And it really helped me get out of that state of feeling like I needed to be saved, and that I had the power to save myself and gain that clarity all within myself.
Yeah.
That's powerful work that you're doing, because you're not doing just the inner stuff. You're allowing somebody to come in and see their true self, or how powerful they are and what they could do for their life and what they could create for their business. And I think that is just so magical that you allow yourself to do that, because energy work isn't always it's not the easiest thing to hold and carry and help guide people through.
Agreed. But it's also, it can be super fun. And just even hearing everything that you're sharing right now I'm receiving all of it. Because we, as entrepreneurs, we don't always hear people's experiences through our work. So thank you for sharing everything that you just said. A big part of the work that I do was so people could become their own gurus. I never wanted someone to need me. I wanted to teach them the tools so they could be on their own. So I love what you just shared. It just kind of hits me in the heart.
Well, thank you for allowing me to share it with you. But what would you say is something that you see a lot of people come to you with as this hardcore block that they're experiencing in their business, that they're I don't understand why this is coming up for me. And I've tried X, Y, and Z and nothing's working. I'm at the point where I'm ready to turn around, walk away, and go just work a 9-to-5 and hate my life every day because this isn't working at all.
Yes. Yes. I mean, there's lots of things that people come to me for over the years, but I think that the root of so much of it, and I don't know if it's just because I work with women mostly, but most people come to me and they think, I just had this conversation yesterday, so it's funny that we're talking about this. Most people come to me because they think that they want more money in their business, right? That's what the ego wants. I want more money in my business. But what it ends up actually being is they're not making the money because they're not accepting who they actually are. They're putting on this facade of who they think they need to be successful, or to be like the coaches they see online or the healers that they see online. And so people come to me and they're like, all right, I want to scale my business. I want to make more money. I want to expand. I want to get activated. And like, we do that. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but what first happens, and it could be because I'm a Scorpio too, but there's this entire transformation and rebirth. It's kind of like this full shedding process that people go through. And it's beautiful. It's not scary. It's just more, they're not changing who they are. They're becoming and accepting who they already are and embodying that. And like that shift in and of itself, you become magnetic, you become radiant. All of a sudden, you know how to speak and write content, whereas before it felt like the throat chakra was blocked, or you feel so much more comfortable selling because you're not selling. You're just being you. You're authentic. It's like we release the programming of who you thought you needed to be to become who you actually are. And I think that's the biggest thing, the biggest block that I see so many people struggle with. And I even struggled with it myself before I created this business. When I left my 9-to-5, my first business was, I did branding and web design because it was like normal. Like that's what people would accept me as, and it sucked. It sucked. Like it was like so soul sucking. Money wasn't coming in. I was barely making ends meet. And the second I made that shift into Kundalini business coach, although no one was doing it, it was like an entirely new sector. Mentally, logically, it would be like, that would fail because no one's doing that, right? Instead, it just expanded so quickly without much, there wasn't paid advertising. It wasn't this big marketing budget because I had aligned with who I am. And I think maybe because that's who I am, that's who I attract in, are these people that really need to let go of all of the programming and messaging of who they think they need to be and just truly be who they are.
Absolutely. Did you just put a magnifying glass and like go back on me of like why I needed things? Because that truly was it. Like there was that fear, there was that scarcity all around money of it's not coming in, it's not working, things aren't happening. But in reality, it was because there was this bigger part of me that subconsciously was walking through life being somebody that I wasn't, because it was that protective layer, that protective factor of just go ahead and look at how everybody else is doing things and just go about it in that way and it'll work out. But in reality, when you finally like pull the zipper down, take that shell of a human that you aren't off and actually fully step into that state of alignment and your purpose and lead with the desires and just like follow your heart ultimately as you're doing all of that inner work of going in and connecting, like it's magical and it's powerful. And I think that there was so much beauty in all of those dark moments because the radiance that shined afterwards of just being able to stand in front of people and like, no, I know myself for the first time in my life. Like I know myself and it feels good. And when you get to that place within yourself and within your business, that's when everything just kind of happens, right? I always tell my clients, it's like you become this magnet because everything around you is just then pulling in what you're meant to have and who you're meant to be and who you're supposed to surround yourself with in the path. Like it just feels good and easy and in flow. And are there hiccups? Of course, we're human and it's life and that's always going to happen. But once you're in that state of alignment, because you've done all this work that you're guiding people through, like those blocks that come in, you just step over it or you move it to the side, or it just doesn't feel as impactful as it once did. And that's why this work is so powerful. And even more powerful is that you're out here teaching other people how to do this work and bring it into their business so that they can just expand this energy, raise this vibration in such a bigger way than it just being you. So tell us about that.
Yes. So, long story short, I was going through, teaching people with Kundalini and business coaching. And what ended up happening was so many people were like, Brianna, teach me what you just did to me. Like, what did you just do? I want to teach the Kriyas, teach me how you're coaching and doing all of this. And so, we have now a light leader certification program. And so essentially it's a multimodality certification program. So you get certified in breath work and meditation and somatic movement movement and Kundalini, of course, and then also my energy evaluation tools. So how to really read the energy of the body. So that way you can pinpoint your client's blocks in like 15 minutes or less and make a transformative breakthrough. So it's everything that I do. Now I certify people in, and also how to lead retreats, VIP days, how to market yourself. All of that stuff is included, because what I remember in those beginning days was this fear of not knowing how to really hold this space, how to not really be that healer. It's like I felt the call to be the healer, but then also when I showed up, I was like, well, what do I do now? How do I help people? How do I package this? How do I lead breath work? How do I lead a transformation? And then also, how do I continuously do it? Like, I know for a lot of our clients, it's like, it happened once, or like, I healed myself, but can I duplicate this process? Can I keep doing it over and over again? And so that's what we teach inside the Light Leader certification. It's a methodology that you learn how to evaluate and diagnose energy, how to pinpoint the blocks, and then also use breathwork, meditation, somatic movement, and Kundalini, if you choose, to bust through that block. And then we teach you how to bring it into your online business, how to hold VIP days, retreats, and everything in between. And you become a certified Light Leader practitioner and get to be part of the Light Leader movement as well.
Wow.
Super fun.
That is so awesome. And just a powerful way for you to lead this work in such a dynamic way when it does, so it doesn't have to all be on you. It's like you're getting your work out there in such a way while helping other people build their business. Like I just that it's just like this cycle that you're creating, and it's so amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, we really, I thought to myself, if we really want to create a Light Leader movement, this work has to become bigger than me. And there's people that I just won't reach naturally. I can't help everyone. And so I wanted to create more teachers in the world and have people feel really confident in their intuitive gifts and skill sets. And so that's what we're doing.
Yeah. And I think that says a lot about you, what you just said, right? You aren't going to reach everybody. And that is such a pivotal thing for people to hear and recognize, that it doesn't all happen through one person. It's absolutely impossible. And so that beauty of being able to share the gifts and teach the methodology and just get it out there in such a bigger way to create that change and call that shift into this planet. Like I said, it says a lot about you, because a lot of people would sit on something like this that they've created and say, no, you know what? I'm going to be the only one because I have to be known for this, right? Which that's when the ego comes in, right?
Yes.
That's
Totally.
the ego saying. So if that's how you're feeling right now and you have something going on, you should probably reach out to Brianna, because she could help you move through that ego state.
I will say, though, it took time to get here with my ego to say, get it out there, because the ego does come in and, as always, it will always show up. So I don't want it to seem like I just easily ascended into this. There was work too.
Yes, I thank you for saying that, because it truly is. It's all a matter of time and the self-work and the continuous work, right? And I'm sure even at this point where you are today of putting this out there and helping other people, there's still days where you look at yourself, you're like, okay, we got to work on me. Like, I gotta move some things and shift some things, right? It's like that journey is never truly over. We're constantly on that path.
Yes. Refining and radiating and going within. It's a cycle. And I talk about that too, especially as women, we're cyclical beings. And so we're not meant to be in like the fire stage, which is like magnetism and radiance. Like that's a part of it, but there's so many other cycles that we go through as well. So just honoring that, I think, is so important too.
Yeah. Yeah. Letting it all be.
Yes. Yes. Be all of it.
Yes. And not ashamed of it.
Yes. Totally.
So how long is this certification program for somebody that's maybe sitting here and is like, okay, yeah, this sounds pretty interesting.
Yes.
This might be something I want to look into.
Yes. So in total, it's a 6-month certification, but that doesn't mean that you have to wait 6 months in order to utilize the tools. You'll actually become certified by month 4, and those final 2 months are essentially like a business mastermind with me, because what we found is with most certifications, they teach you the tools and then you kind of graduate and go, and then you don't know how to bring them into your business. So by month 4, you will be certified, but you can actually start using these tools from day 1, which is really cool. We'll teach you how to bring them in from day 1, so that way you get really comfortable with them. So that way by month 4, it's like they're perfected, you know exactly how to use them, and then you're able for certification. So it's total 6 months, but you can start using the tools from day 1.
I love that.
Yeah.
And using them not only for yourself, but to help pave the way for light leaders to just shift the planet, to raise this vibration, to shift the frequency, and to just step into this place where you can be your true, authentic self and work through the blocks and become a healed, whole woman while going after every single one of her dreams.
Yes.
So beautiful. Is there any final things that you want to share with our listeners?
You know, I think, or at least for me, I would listen to podcasts like this when I was waiting for a sign or like wanting to get clarity on something. And so if you're listening to this and you've been waiting for a sign to do something, here it is. Trust the little nudge, go after it. And also for those of you that received downloads or intuitive ideas throughout this episode, I challenge you to take action on them. Don't let them just sit in your mind or in your journal. Take action on them within the next 24 hours and really go after it.
So good. Where can people find you? Because everybody's going to want to find you. They need you in their life.
I love hanging out on Instagram. So you could find me at I am Brianna Rose. Shoot me a DM. I love connecting with people. It's really me. My team doesn't run the account, so it's me behind there. And I love connecting with you all. And then also I have a free Facebook group called Rising Light Sisterhood. There's over 150 free trainings inside of there on Kundalini, energy expansion, and everything in between. And then of course, you can find me on my website at lightleaderco.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your light with us, for sharing your story, for just allowing us to have that deeper glimpse into what led you here and why you are so passionate about it. Just allowing yourself to answer that call and to step into your true power and your presence, but not just keep it to yourself. Share it with the world in such a bigger way. It's going to shift the entirety of the way that so many women do business, as it already has. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for receiving all of that. And I just appreciate you and all of the work that you're doing and for allowing me to come on here to share my light as well.
I'll talk with you soon.
Yes.
Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode on Behind the Boss Lady podcast. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at The Boss Lady Agency and subscribe to the podcast so that you never miss an episode. Leave a review or share with me what your biggest takeaway was. I can't wait to connect with you more, and I'll see you next